The Common Legend is a podcast for everyone.
Hello and welcome to The Common Legend, where legends are more common than you may think. My name is Sean, and our legend this week is Kelsey Lynne. Kelsey is a professional medium, life guide, and healer based just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. She says that she was born with her psychic gift, but didn't really accept it until something really tragic happened in her life. We'll dive into that. But yeah, I'm really excited to talk to Kelsey about so many things. So Kelsey, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So how's your day going?
Good. How about you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. It's good now. I was really excited for this one. I went over some of your TikToks and stuff, and more than just like psychic, you're also like kind of a healer, a spiritual guide.
Yes. Try to wear all the hats, and I try to do what I can to put content out to give tidbits to people. I have had a lot of clients that have been, they're like, I want to heal and I don't know how. Like, I want to be able to get through these things and I don't know how. And I'm like, so I
Hmm.
try to put out even things that are going on in my own life too, right? If I'm kind of
Hmm.
like, kind of receiving guidance in my own self, I'm like, you know what? That's a really good piece I feel like people can relate to. So I try to put it out there too.
Hmm. And some of the pieces you put out there are just good advice, like on a very basic level, almost like a therapeutic level, not even, like a extrasensory level or extrasensory level.
Thank you so much. No, I appreciate that. And I'm like, I do try to like make it tangible for people because sometimes spirituality, like it can get so abstract. And
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, what can actually people relate to? You know what I mean? And the general consensus that,
Hmm.
so I appreciate that. And it's definitely a name that I go for.
Yeah, it's good. And yeah, how long have you been pursuing this career then full time professionally?
Okay, so I would say over a year now, I've been like launched the website, really kind of engaging, but I was taking clients kind of on the back end without having this like public profile
Mm.
for I would say a couple years, 2, 3 years. And then it just kind of like flourished organically. And I was like, you know what, this is something I really should be doing. And so then
Yeah.
I opened up the doors like, yeah, last spring,
Okay. So
winter.
you're coming up on your first year then,
I
rounding
was
the
gonna say,
gate.
wait, and that was spring, February. Okay, February. It was like last February, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
so just over the year.
And is this what you do full time? Do you have a side gig or a
Yeah,
partner that
so
helps
it
support you?
is yeah, it's my primary focus. I'm actually in yoga teacher training too right now. And
Okay.
I do work at the studio there, and that this is my primary focus of that.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I was reading and you said like you knew that you had something, like something was different when you were pretty young.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it kind of comes through in different ways. Like when I was growing up, like it wasn't so clear that I was like, yeah, I am psychic. Like, let's do this. It was just it was coming like strong like ways of like kind of feeling different vibes, like just the empath part specifically
Hmm.
and through my teen years. And then when I was like 21 years old, and I had lost my sister in a car accident, and I afterwards started to connect strongly, and then you start to be like, is this a grieving is this a grieving thing? You know what I mean? Like I have been experiencing these things, but it kind of like came out in a different respect. So,
Mm.
through that, I just kind of like put it aside again. And I was like,
Hmm.
I just wasn't sure exactly what to do about it or how to take it. And so I'm like, maybe I'm just kind of going through it, and but
Hmm.
still this like kind of carried with me through the years. And then when I was in the past 5 years, say it started to come on very strong to the point of which I was like, I cannot ignore this. I had a moment of being like, I thought I kind of like took care of this. And then it came on so strong. And so then I really started to explore it.
Okay. Yeah, I was reading the death of your sister at 19. I'm so sorry. That's like that must have been really hard for you in college,
Thank you.
especially.
Yeah, thank you. It was a very difficult time and it happened very suddenly, and it it takes me to say like I get what the people are going through that I work with, and like I
Hmm.
want to help them process it. I want to help them grieve, and I want to be there to convey these like messages. It's truly a remarkable thing to be able to do for people.
Hmm.
So I feel very like compassionate towards my clients and everyone
Hmm.
going through
Yeah, it's
it.
that empathy again, like you were saying, because you
Yeah.
just want to help people, you know?
Yeah.
Give them closure, or
Absolutely.
give them insight, or give them tips.
Yeah. Anything I can do to help. And, it's like, it's when I'm relaying the messages, like you're truly a translator, right? It's like, so a lot of the life guidance and the way it's structured is just formatted like by your loved ones. You know what I mean? And so it comes through. It's like, yes, like I can give you insight and I can give you input, but like when I'm doing a direct reading, like this guidance is coming through directly from your loved ones. You know what I mean? I'm the
Hmm.
translator, I'm the messenger.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how'd you, I mean, having the feeling is one thing, because like we all like we have that extra sensory, like that spidey sense on some level, you know?
Yes.
So how did you really hone it in and start to train? Like, did you do research? Did you find other mentors?
So, okay. So I would say this comes in a few pieces. Like when I started to feel feelings, like that's definitely something like you shut out. And like I was having different premonitions in after COVID, like I was really sick. I had immune system issues and then I got COVID and I was really sick. And like, it's like having premonitions about that, but shutting them out. Like having premonitions that I'm going to get in a car accident, shutting it out and just being like, it's in your head. It's in your head.
Hmm.
Just because something is in your head doesn't mean it's not real. Right. And so,
Yeah.
and so as you kind of like step out of that and I started to be vocal about it. And I think that was like the key difference is like I started to like maybe
Ah,
speak out about it.
yeah.
Um, and then it was like a different phase of like, I was feeling like, you know, great, like energetically. And then I started to kind of like see more things and like hear more things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is like, this
What's
is
going on?
really happening. This is really happening. And then into speaking to other people when you are then connecting with people directly and doing readings. And if you explore on my social media, you might find an early video where I talk about like the first person I called was like a doctor, like a mental health professional, because I was like, is
Am I
this
going
like, am
crazy?
I seeing auras again? And I was like, I thought we were over this. I'm like, I'm seeing these auras, and then I'm seeing them in different colors, and like, and then I gave her a 2 hour long reading, and it was like to a T on par everything. And there was even like the giant kicker for me. She left the call. She's like, this is real, Kelsey. Like you got a gift. Like the things
Hmm.
that you know what I mean, the very specific things. And I said, okay, one more thing. Your great grandmother gave your grandmother something, and it's like a piece of jewelry, but like not quite. I'm like, it's not a brooch, but I can't quite grasp what it is. And this is like the material. I had a lamp in the room that was like this like hammered metal material. I'm like, this is the material, your grandmother has it. And so she called me back then 2 weeks later. She's like, I just want you to know that I spoke with my grandmother and like I had corrected her on some of her like ancestor and like somehow people passed away and what they were doing in their life and
Hmm.
etc. And she's like, everything you said was right. And not only that, I asked my grandmother if she had anything and of my great grandmother's, and she goes, I do. And she brings out this clasp. Now the women were from
Mm.
Morocco, and they would roll up their sleeves and they were like washing clothes in the dishes and stuff, and they would clasp these like their sleeves with these metal clasps. And she's like, it was exactly the material that you showed it. It was the pattern and like the jewelry, not quite brooch. And she was like, you've got a gift. And I was like, all right, I gotta go. I gotta know. And then I started to tell the people that were like very close to me, like my family and everything. And then it grew and flourished from there. And they've been very supportive. So
Yeah, I wanted to ask, your family's been supportive about it?
yeah, they've been really great, really. Like and without them, I don't think I would have had like that feeling that I could really step forward with it because it's just there's so many people that like still, maybe look into it and think it's a little like out there. But having the support to like make that step was huge for me. And I had some really good friends and like I practiced like talking to some of my friends too. And
Yeah.
so that was great to have. Yeah.
Yeah, so you were self-trained, like you kind of just followed your intuition. And then once you
Yes.
got some like validation and assurance, and confirmation like that, then you just kind of headed straight into the wind and kept going.
exactly. The last phase I did was social media because I was like, that's like another phase. Okay, well, there's one phase of like putting your website out there, taking clients, getting that direction.
Hmm.
But then there's another thing about like putting out social media, and like I've had questions about, people ask me like, do you get like trolls, or do you get any people like that are kind of negative? I'm like, at this time, knock on wood, I've had really, really great people on my social media, so that's
Yeah.
been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TikTok does a good job of like putting the right people in front of you. Trolls still make it through every now and then, once you start to get bigger, but
That's exactly, and literally, you said exactly what I said. I'm like, one, it's like the people who are kind of like drawn to my page and the algorithm are people who kind of want to see that. And then, second
yeah.
of all, I know as you grow, you attract definitely as numbers grow, right? Statistically speaking, you're going to attract more.
Yeah.
So,
I just got my first wave of haters yesterday for the first time.
oh my
I
gosh,
handled
thanks
it
for
horribly.
going.
I was like, I tried to talk to them compassionately and like to learn and have an open conversation and dialogue, and it just didn't work. And I was like, why am I even like,
You're like, what am I doing here? Yeah.
what am I doing?
Yeah. I've had a couple people be like, I've had people say like, you're just like poking holes into like what you're talking to is like all negative. There's like no such thing as spirit. Like, and it's all demons. And you know what I mean? I'm like, that's a very interesting outlook. I think we could do better and, open up our minds to other possibilities. And then I just kind of end the dialogue there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I hate ending the dialogue. I don't know. I can't let it go. Like, no, I want to solve this. We're friends, but you don't know it yet. Love me,
yeah, I think circa Kelsey, like 10 years ago, like
Yeah.
circa like 2012 probably would have been more like that.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I've
Yeah.
gained a lot of patience, and I'm like,
Totally.
whatever.
Yeah. Well, no, me too. Me too. This is the first time it happened. And so I replied to everyone once, and then I was like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
And I went
Yeah,
back and
yeah.
deleted it all. I was like, no, no, no. So I'm almost there. I'm almost where you are.
Listen, it's all a process, right?
Yeah. So how old are you now then? If you don't mind me
33.
asking.
I'm about to
33.
be 34. It feels like,
Okay.
yeah.
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 I don't know. I mean, I'm 36, and between 33 or 30 and 36, like I don't remember a single birthday. I don't think it doesn't matter. They don't count. It goes like all the way up to 30, and then it goes 30, 40, and then you're like, oh, I'm 40. Shit.
And then like all of a sudden you're here and you're like, how have I gotten here? Like, how did I
Yeah.
get here? I mean, I feel like 34, but like not really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't feel like I did when I was like 20. How's that? But
Right.
it's weird, yeah.
Yeah. So your sister passed away. One of your two sisters. You have another sister, right?
I do. I have two sisters, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm the
And
baby.
so was it older? You're the baby, so it was older
Yeah.
sister.
It
Okay.
was my middle sister, yeah.
Okay. And you were in college during the time?
Yeah, yeah, it was a rough time. Like I said, it was I was a freshman. I just got done with my freshman year of school.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was over the summer. So and like we said, it happened abruptly, unfortunately.
Mhm.
We had loss in our family before. I had a young cousin who was also around the same age as her, who had passed away like when I was in high school. I was like 16 at the time, and like I had seen what an untimely death can do. And, they are also not the only untimely deaths that I had seen personally. And I had
Mhm.
seen other passings in my family, but to just see what, losing like somebody, young person, it was really difficult.
Mhm.
But it can like really make or break you as a family, I would say. So
Oh,
like I know
totally.
yeah, I know some people it really strains them, and people go their separate ways, or
Mhm.
it can really really connect you. And
Mhm.
luckily for us, my family is very strong people, and
Mhm.
we kind of solidified the glue. It's not perfect. Grieving's never
Yeah,
perfect.
never. No.
Gonna be ugly at
No right
times.
way to do it.
Exactly, but we did it, and it's
Mhm.
like you adjust to like a new normal. When you
Yeah.
lose someone so close to you and like so young,
Mhm.
it's just a new normal. Yeah.
So were you really close with her?
Yeah, yeah. She was we were very close. It's like sisters go through their things and fight and whatever else, and we go through our lives, and but like we all always had a good like, positive relationship. We loved each other.
Mhm.
She had a great smile, she had great energy. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's tough. And yeah, like you said, sometimes families break up, or sometimes they come tighter, and sometimes they do both. Sometimes they like rubber band and come back, they go run and then they all snap back and then they're tighter than ever.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, so what were you in college for? What were you studying?
So I was in communications, I always had an interest in like the medical field. I just, I now also know too, like I had issues with my immune system. I was always pretty like I was kind of fatigued, like, and I didn't really speak out about it, but I was pretty fatigued. But I was interested in the medical field. I was kind of gonna go in that. I went back to for communications and marketing, and then I was gonna go in the direction of like medical field and then I got a concussion too, a pretty good digger on a snowboard. And like, it just, I didn't end up taking that direction, but I chose communications because I was like, I'm going to use this wherever I go. You know what I
Totally.
mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what my thought was. That was my thought at the time. I'm like,
And you're
whichever,
still using communications in this.
literally, here
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah. Well, not even just this, but in the readings and stuff you offer.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
So
like,
you
so.
offer like communications with past loved ones, aura readings, and what are your services? What do you offer people?
Yeah, yeah. So I do majority of my clients they come for readings with past loved ones. For
Okay.
people who end up like coming more, I will integrate the connection with past loved ones. It turns to a lot of life advice, but it
Mhm.
depends on what it is calling to. I've had clients that also come in, they'll do guided meditation with me because
Mhm.
that's the healing part of it is like it's almost like if you've had an experience with like a hypnotherapy or something like that, we go through like a guided meditation and meet like different parts of you and kind of let those parts of you speak and I'll like walk you through it. And so kind of
Mhm.
trying to get in to know yourself on a deeper level and what's remaining to help
Mhm.
you kind of process and go through things. Yeah.
So like body scans.
Yeah. I would say
Okay.
like an aura scan. How's
Yeah.
that?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Exactly. And
yeah,
it's
that's really important thing to learn how to do is to, feel your body and feel your emotions and what's triggering them and how you're reacting to them.
yes. And the thing about being in a meditative state is because you have to remove like the part of you that interacts as like as a person that kind of like the ego you might develop, the defense mechanisms, like we have to put all of those aside and we need to talk to you. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like and it can get very lost with like the hustle and bustle of life and
Oh
society
my
now.
God, so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
we're prioritizing the wrong stuff.
exactly. And it happens to me too. It's like as I kind of like tuned into myself more, the very like unique thing about having been sick following COVID, like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk because I couldn't project a voice. Like I know as loud
Yeah.
as I sound now. And it I went from being like one of the louder people at the table to being like I couldn't even get my voice heard at like a table of
Hmm.
three. Yeah, like you know what I mean? And it teaches you stillness and it teaches you patience. And like through that, I was able to like sit with myself and you start to pay attention to like I'm doing like I seem to be pretty antsy, you know what I mean? We can call it ADHD, we can call it whatever we want, we can call it anxiety. But if you start to talk to yourself and say,
Hmm.
why do I keep getting up and trying to move? Why? What's
Right.
going on? What do I feel?
Yes.
Pain? And
Analyze yourself.
yeah. And you start to create this dialogue with yourself. And
Hmm.
that's when you start to peel back the layers of who you
Yes.
are.
Yeah. And it's a superpower. I've went through this too. And once yeah, I think you have to have the curiosity, like obviously you have. You have to also want to learn yourself, which I think everyone should, but they don't.
Yeah.
But I think it's a superpower, like you said, or like I said, yeah, like I said. Um,
Right. I'm gonna take your words.
so, but was it,
Thank you.
do you think it was like, just like all of the like complex PTSD over the years kind of stacking that did it?
De- yeah, definitely. It definitely because I'm like, okay, you know what? And I did have a moment of being like, I had some residual things kind of going on with like a disattachment, I would say, from myself. And like that's really like how I push this like the psychic thing away too, is like I created this sense of disattachment. It's like a safe haven essentially through all of what you're
Mhm.
going through. And then I had this day where I was just like, I have been sick for a very long time now. And when I come back from being sick, I would also love for this disattachment to kind of go away. And that's when it was like, and the stronger that I made the attachment and started to pay attention to myself, the more this gift like opened up. And like,
Mhm.
so it kind of all came in at once. And I'm still fine tuning things and the stronger of the connection, the stronger I am as a medium. So it's been a little like wild kind of like teaching myself mediumship, going through my own, healing, and also kind of embarking into like a new phase of it, which, it's touch and go. And
There's levels
yeah,
to this shit, bud.
man, it's non-stop.
People think like when you're enlightened or you're like, when you wake up, that's it. It's like, no, man, that's just level one.
Oh my gosh, no, you're not kidding. And like it's funny the way that my gift kind of works with myself, like I receive a lot of riddles like from my like higher self, like the part that connects to me psychically. Like I'll get these very, very intricate riddles that are like webs. It's pretty wild. And it goes over the course of months. And I have one morning like a year ago where I woke up and I was like, F this, F that, F you higher self, F you inner child.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. I'm done. I'm done. And like the way my higher self put it was like, you were mad at the sky for being blue. I'm like, I just need a direct answer sometimes, guys. And guys, I'm like, it's me. But it's okay to, and you know what? That day, it was quite remarkable. Like I grew more in that day, like as a medium and as myself than I had in like months. Because it just was like so, when we're going through healing and we're healing ourselves through trauma, you might feel like you're kind of like doing well, or maybe you're not. And then maybe you're kind of got some momentum and you just feel like you have a bad day and you're like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I'm this setback. But it's not a setback.
Yeah.
It's not a setback. It's a process. And and you keep going,
Yeah. This is true with everything, mental health too, like if you're working on something and you got really good at not getting triggered by something, but then something triggered you, then you learn, you're like, oh, that triggered me here. So the same thing with your abilities.
Exactly. And the thing with like into voice, echo what you're saying, and it sounds like you've done a lot of work with yourself, and you have a lot of wisdom. The great thing about being able to connect like spiritually is like that I'm able to provide people with like that insight as well. Like it's not my psychoanalysis on you, like specifically, it is like I get to integrate in the wisdom of the people that are on the other side. And like frankly, like if messages are translated correctly and like smoothly, like spiritual guidance is like impeccable. It is just, it hits it, it knows you, it knows the real you, what you're calling towards, what you need, and what you're really hanging on to, and what you're kind of ready to hear. You said something that before, people want to work on themselves, and are they ready? Because to really do work and to really do this, like you have to take a look at yourself in the mirror and really be ready to face that person and be like, you know what? These the self-awareness, like these have been my mistakes. These were my doings. I need to own up to it and face it.
Accountability. Let's go.
Yes, accountability and forgiveness. That is a huge part of it.
Including yourself.
No, mostly yourself, because when you start to be able to forgive yourself, it will automatically open you up to forgiveness for those around you, because it sheds like a new light on things. So like I would say you're having trouble forgiving other people, do the work on yourself. Free yourself from the chains of which you are holding on to. And through that, it will be like second nature to forgive people around you. Really.
Absolutely. I can testify to this. And it's tough to forgive yourself, but like the things we say about ourselves in our head, or used to, or we have at periods in our time, no one would ever say about us. The mean things that the mean names we're calling ourselves, no one else is calling us those.
Yes. And like damage you've done while you're grieving. I like people like, and when you're gone through trauma, you don't even need to be grieving a passing. Like you could have gone through trauma, and like people act in certain ways to themselves and others that they later are like, how did I do this? And you know what? And like, forgiving yourself in awareness is like the way out. It is the way out,
So have you ever felt like that? Have you ever struggled with like mental illness or like depression on that level?
For sure. So I would say mostly what my complex was the complex PTSD. Like definitely. And then like there was kind of ways of like I've had to like spare myself from things. And the brain is such a powerful tool too. Like when you're coping, you sometimes like don't realize how powerful your brain is and like the storm you can create at a later date. So
Yeah.
like if I can go back to like 13, 12-year-old me, even going through life, like I would be like, stop what you're doing, you know what I mean? Like treat yourself well, because you don't understand the neural pathways. Like they build, and like you start to maybe automatically like do something. And that's like
Oh
the thing
yeah.
about addiction. Like your neural pathways are built now to bring you back to this dopamine release, right?
Hmm.
And it can be tangible to other areas of like mental health too, like
Hmm.
the nervous tics, like the defense mechanisms, and like you've built your neural pathways, and the work can be undone though, and that's the important key for people to like remember.
It can be totally, and yeah, this I think this is the link between like your abilities, the psychic stuff, and the mental health. It's the brain. The brain is where all this is happening, and it's
Yeah.
in those neural pathways. Um, Sometimes I'm a huge advocate for this. There needs to be some kind of chemical assistant to help do that.
That absolutely happens, and in no way I am right there with you, because there is not a pill that's gonna fix everything. It's like for everyone. There's also not always just like a mental health like discussion that can just fix it.
Hmm.
It can very likely cross over. And like I'm an
Hmm.
advocate of that too. It's totally patient specific.
Oh yeah.
There's also a lot of like new types of therapy, like different psychotherapies and like
Hmm.
EMDR that can
Yeah.
help like the brain reprocessing, that I'm like a huge I'm very like pro about, but
And
I'm
that's
with
eye
you. I
movement
like
desensitization.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yep.
No, but yeah, you're right. Everyone's brains differently, and like all of our brains, no two people on the entire planet in the history of our species have ever lived the two identical lives, including twins.
Yeah.
So obviously, we all need our own very specific, unique blend of
Yeah.
a solution.
For sure. And we've come a long way. And we've come a
Hmm.
long way in terms of mental health and medication, but we still have a lot more to go.
Oh
Like,
fuck yeah.
you know what I mean? And like addiction in its own right. I know that you say you've talk about that a lot on your podcast. Like I've personally in my life I have lost like people to addiction. I've been side by side trying to help people work through their addiction, and like,
Hmm.
people don't want to be this way, right? There is like often like a brain chemistry that is like that's impacted,
Hmm.
innately. And like the hope is that in the future we still continue to find things to like remedy this, you know what I mean, and help people. Um, we
Yeah,
have a
I
long way.
agree. But I think we're kind of working counterintuitively. Yesterday's episode with Eben, highly recommend anyone watching go back and listen to that one. It's fan fucking tastic. But we really talked at length about how we believe all these issues with addiction and depression and anxiety are really systemic of like capitalistic society and how it's formed and how we're expected to function within this structure. And so we're in a system that's designed to fail, and then we're trying to make solutions instead of fixing the root of the problem.
100%.
You
I'm with
know,
you.
so
I'm
it's a
with you.
cat and mouse game.
The thing about like where I'm like we've come a long way. Like I remember trying to work with people, like 10 years ago, you know what I mean? Like I knew friends going through it, and like what they had to offer for mental health, it was just like in addiction, it was like very minimal. You know what I mean? You have to pay, you want to
Mm.
go to rehab, you're paying out of pocket.
Oh my
You're going
God. Yeah.
far in debt. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. And it was terrible. So in that regard, but I am with you. I'm with you. There's a lot of the construct that kind of like really overcasts a shadow over,
Mhm.
what's really going on with people. And
Yeah.
it really needs to be tuned into. I'm with you.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just something we need to talk about more and bring to light so people start to realize that they're not broken. Because a lot of people are out there sitting there being like, "What's wrong with me?" And I'm like, "No, no, no. There's nothing wrong with you."
Yes. Yeah. I'm right there with you, really. Like it is natural to feel, you know, we're human, we're only human. We're gonna go through things. We're gonna feel these things, and it's okay. And like to create a platform and create a space that it's okay for people to talk about it is the
Yeah.
most important thing, because when people shut out, that's when we get into dangerous waters. That's when people do things that they don't really that really are detrimental to themselves. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely, yeah. And that is one of the benefits I'd say of social media is it's both. It's a double-edged sword. It allows you to create these little communities, these micro bubbles,
yeah,
as they say, but they can be very negative or very positive. And if you promote like a lot of healing, and like a journey, reflection and stuff like that, it's great. But then if you promote something not so great, like Cheeto, then
yeah.
things happen.
And that's the unfortunate thing about the internet, right? Is there's two sides, and there's two very deep
Hmm.
sides of it, right? So it can go
Yeah.
into. So I think it's our, unfortunately, we have to take the reins and try to steer ourselves into a positive light. You know
Hmm.
what I mean, and not engage like with that other side, because I know, and it
No,
loses
I
some
don't think
people.
that's the solution. Not engaging. No.
With the dark side of things, have you ever gone to the you've gone and seen the deep?
Excuse me.
Hey,
What we're talking about here is I want to make two references to two very different religions. The dark and the light side of things. It's yin and yang. One would not exist without the other. The light would not be there without the dark.
yeah,
Okay. And
yeah.
yeah, but it's really important. And I feel like, a lot of the practices I've heard you mention are Buddhist in philosophy, the
Yes.
chakras, the auras, the meditating, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I don't think it's closing it out, push it away. I think we need to like, it's the how you approach it.
I think we're talking about kind of like a little too different. I think that's why, because I'm like, I'm with you. You do have to discuss and like talk to those shadows. Like when I go through my work and I go through people, like we have to talk to those shadows. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? For sure. I'm talking about like some of the content that really starts to gear people, I don't know, send people down the wrong rabbit holes. I've
Oh
just
yeah.
seen like bad content shove people down really dark rabbit
Yeah.
holes, you know?
Well, there's not much you can actually do about that, really, right?
No.
You just have to walk away.
That's
Like,
what I'm saying, the personal
okay, so for
responsibility. That's
that,
exactly
okay,
that's
all
exactly
right,
saying, yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense. I get it now.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, because like, yeah, do you want to start a fight? Like, it's not, the people who are making stuff like that they're not
Yeah.
looking for an educated conversation.
No, no, no. That's exactly, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So on the topic, of Buddhism, then religion, did you grow up religious, or have you identified as religious in the past?
So I grew up in an Episcopalian church, which is it's a Christian church.
Hmm.
I identify pretty neutrally as like spiritual.
Hmm.
You will hear me talk about like the chakras. You will
Hmm.
hear me talk a lot about, I've talked discussed angels, you know what I mean? So that they cross like paths with all different things. My atonement is like a self-reflection, self-connection, knowing that there's something more than ourselves, and keeping an open mind. Because in terms of spirituality, I feel that it's important to allow whatever comes to you and speaks to you. So I
Hmm.
personally don't define it. And if someone feels like their strongest connection is, say, Buddhism, and or is like a Catholic or whichever Muslim, whatever call speaks to them, that allows them to have that connection, is the right thing for them. You know what I
A
mean?
fucking men. Amen.
Yeah.
I think everyone needs this mindset.
And that's what, in being like just being accepting of it and like listening to people, and
Hmm.
they might have differences. Like I still, I talk to people from all different religious backgrounds, and I want
Yeah.
them to know like it's good, it's okay, you know what I mean? And I will never ever like project anything religion, like any religion, anything like that onto anyone in specific. What I will say is that there is more than what we see here on earth, that there is something more, and there's something greater than ourselves,
Hmm.
and there's more energy on the other side, and that is
Yeah.
what I will.
And well, it's either you feel it, acknowledge it, and surrender and have faith in it,
Yeah,
or you reject it and deny it, become bitter, resentful, and just a angry person.
it does seem to happen to people when they just shut out, and they don't feel that sense of like, hope anymore.
Mm.
You know what I mean? They
Yep.
really don't, and they're like, why am I doing this? You know what I mean? Because life's hard. Being
Yeah.
human's hard. You
Oh
know
my
what I
God.
mean?
Yeah. You
It's
need
like,
something to believe in
yeah,
bigger than yourself to keep
yes.
you fucking sane.
Yeah, it literally, so, and it's an important grasp to like understand, especially, if you're going through it, if you're going through mental health, if you're going through anything like emotionally, like there is, and I will vouch for that. Like there is, something more than ourselves. There are people, there's life after death. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There is something greater. And, so whatever calls to you to connect with that is the right thing. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. No. And I was led to this because of, my past history and struggles with abusing substances and mental health issues led me on the path to meet a lot of people, or you could, call apostles or saints, or, those people in your life that you cross paths and like just that one interaction affects you for the rest of your life and just ping pongs you, sends you somewhere else. And like,
Yeah.
you're just bouncing through the universe.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's when I realized I sat down and I learned how to pray traditional Muslim way. And then I sat down with some Hebrews and prayed with them, and then some Sikhs, with the turbans on their head, and then some Buddhists. And what I realized is like, oh shit, we all believe in the same thing. It's like, we're all talking about the same fucking thing.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing. I'm so happy that you found that.
Yeah.
I'm really happy you found that, Kenny. Key. For me, like actually you had asked me before, like, have you had any mentors? I'm like, I did work with another medium. His name is Phil Quinn, and he's been wonderful too. And like that for me was like another safe space, because like, and I remember I self-exposed myself, like when I was kind of connecting psychically, I exposed myself to the chakras in grave detail, and I kind of freaked myself out. I'm like, how do I know all of this out of this? And
Hmm.
so I get connected with another medium, and he was wonderful. And I'm like, Phil, the chakras are fucking real. And he's like, he's like, the chakras are
For real,
real.
I've
And
seen
then
them.
yeah, and he's like, and then like I like he has this, he actually has this entire like offering to kind of like work with other psychics like through
Uh,
their chakras. And I didn't even realize that. I just was like, Phil, what the hell? And
mhm.
so he was wonderful. And like being with like-minded people energetically, and being able to open up to people and not feel like whatever you're about to say is going to be like judged, or you know what I mean, in the way that
Right.
you're thinking, in the way that you're rooting yourself is like an open space. And so I'm so
Totally.
happy for you that you found
That's
that.
what you touch on is the community aspect, which is so
Yeah.
important just on a human fucking level. Like,
Yeah.
take God or the universe out of the picture. We all need friends and community that are supportive.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, because and like the more that I like connected as a medium, and the more I take myself through like those meditations, and like I've seen some wild stuff, and I like get on the call. I'm like, have you seen that? And like it's been pretty wild for me to wrap my head around too. Was like I would describe things, and like I'm like I see myself in this room, and I'm describing this kind of like angelic room, and he's finishing like my sentences a little bit. You know what I mean? Like he's seeing the same areas, and I'm like, okay, it's really cool that you're seeing what I'm seeing a little bit, and it makes me
Hmm.
feel like I haven't lost my mind. So
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Once you get someone else to relate to the crazy shit you've seen, you're like, oh, thank
yeah.
God. I'm not alone.
Exactly. And that can go, and that can move to like the pendulum can like swing into so many different regions, right? It's like even like you
Hmm.
said, even like we're talking a lot about mental health, like addiction. Like you felt this too, like this happening, and that's why, as
Hmm.
we kind of touched on before, like the communication aspect of these things is so important, because there are people that just do not speak about it. They don't look into it, and they feel very alone. And you know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's yeah.
So that's how that's what I love to do is just like literally like, just like mock the stigma of it and like put myself like this morning I made a Snapchat and TikTok of me crying and like just because I'm like haha look I'm human, like making
Yeah.
fun of it, like mocking the stigma to its face to kill that.
Oh yeah. You actually touched on an important part that I like kind of I had thought about before. It was like humor is very important to me. Like
Mhm.
it is my safety net. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like if I'm going in deep, and I there's always something brought to like like kind of like to light and laugh about it. And you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, that shit is crazy. And like, it's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. We're in
Right.
it together.
Like
And
why are you laughing? Do you want me to cry instead? Like what?
it's definitely a trauma response, oh for sure. But
Oh
no,
yeah.
there's like it's innate too. It's innate too. I've
Yeah.
always been like appealed to like having laughter. And you know what? It's like when I do readings for people, like I would say like a vast majority of the time, like we have messages coming through, and that are very emotional, very sentimental. Sometimes it could be very revealing about, like, maybe what the person was going through when they passed, or what this person who I'm doing the reading for is currently going through or has gone through. So it can be very emotional. And then, like, they often, like, make light of it, and then the personalities, like, of
Comes
the
out.
person who's passed shine through, and
Yeah.
they'll make a joke, like, and and then
Yeah.
we turn the tears into laughter by the end of it, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like, it's okay, you know?
This is called alchemy,
Yeah.
alchemistry. It's in order to obtain something equal value must be lost. So if you lose a severe knot of sadness in yourself, you're gonna get a big ball of happiness back.
Yeah, absolutely nailed it. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
That, really, that captures it beautifully. It
Hmm.
really does. It is a very important part of the healing process in my world, and I hope to allow other
Totally.
people to share it, because even if you're knees deep in tears, even if you're knees deep in grief, and, like, whatever is so heavy, like, it's okay to laugh. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's healing. It feels right. It feels good,
Hmm.
and, like, and it really kind of takes you out of it. I have
Hmm.
had a client before that had lost someone, and they felt, kind of guilty by it, guilty about it, when they weren't there when they passed.
Oh, okay.
And there was a lot of guilt, and the person hadn't been sleeping well, and by the end, the spirit on the other side was like, what the hell were you gonna do? Like, it's meant to be.
You can give me mouth to mouth.
There's nothing you could have done.
Yeah.
Oh, we laughed. We had a laugh. And then he emails me, like, later, and the guy's like, I slept for the first time. Great. And
Yeah.
the first time in a long time. And I'm like, there's just something healing about that release, you know?
So, were you ever? Let's touch on the whole, like, the controversy of the legitimacy of what you claim to be able to do.
Yeah.
Did you at any point in your life ever not believe in this kind of thing that you were actively practicing?
Okay. So while I was practicing, no. I mean, like, you have, like, self-doubt is a thing, and it's a real killer. So there's
Hmm.
definitely, like, when you're engaging it, when you're learning it, you're like, oh, yeah, like, wow, is this legit? And then
Yeah.
it can still be, like, breathtaking to this day at times. And I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
did I ever not believe in it? No, because I believe that when someone has a gift, there's always something whispering from the inside that's like, there's something more. I just remember being really young and being like, it sounds like so weird, being like, I'm psychic, but I have no idea how. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like,
It's
something's
funny.
kind of calling you, you
Yeah.
know? And so for me, it was never like, just like, it's impossible. It just was like, how, you know what I mean?
Okay.
How, and I don't know. Yeah.
So you never, like, saw Crossing Over with John Edwards on TV and you're like, this guy's full of shit.
So, I'm then, and I won't point to any
Yeah,
particular, like,
you don't have to
mediums
name
out
names. That's
there.
my job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do think there's people out there that are, using this. And do I think that maybe some of those people, they have no gift? Like, no, but I think that they don't really use it authentically all the time.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And so there's definitely folks out there that are, trying to, pulling over on people. And I try to stay in a space where, like, if I did a reading with someone and it didn't go well for some reason, like, maybe I wasn't connecting properly, like, I never want people to feel like I'm trying to take something from them. Like, I'm here to help you. And if, like, you know what I mean, I would give you your money back. You know what I mean? Or I'm like, I'll do another one for you if I'm, like, not energetically in the best space. I have had very successful, like, rating with my readings. You know what I mean? Just, you
Hmm.
might have, like, one day you might need to reschedule because you're not feeling so great, and you're like, I just am not hearing so clear. So, like, I want to make sure I'm doing, like, my best for this person. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
They deserve it. And so, I let that speak for itself too, you know?
Yeah. Um, so before I went on my spiritual journey, religious journey, before I went on my life journey and ended up where I am, I was very skeptical of all that stuff. Obviously, after you experience enough shit, you can't deny it anymore.
Yeah.
But there are still so many phonies, fakes, con artists out there exploiting
Yeah.
it and giving the real people a bad name. And
Yeah.
the guest before you, as this great contrast, he's a stock trader and offers a course to help people trade stocks. But he's like you, genuinely good at it and actually wants to help people. He's like, give me $50, I'll show you where to put your money, and you'll get 200. And he's legit,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he's competing with all these phonies, kind of like you are.
Sure. For
So
sure.
how do you fight that?
You know, it stinks. I let my readings speak for themselves, frankly. So
Okay.
like I have had clients that are like, I thought I had seen a medium before, and then I
Hmm.
came to you and I realized I did not see a medium before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw TikTok medium, or not to okay, sorry, I know you're a TikTok medium. Well, okay, whatever. That's not what I
No,
meant.
no, wait. I'm a medium that's on TikTok. I'm not a
Okay,
TikTok
there
medium,
we
all
go.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. Fuck those TikTok mediums. Yeah.
No, I know, and like, and that's it's like I try to use my platforms. I haven't started doing my readings on platforms or anything. It's like I try to use my
Mm.
platform to like give people some of the content, like give some people, like I said, some advice, maybe some wisdom or a
Hmm.
space to ask questions.
Yep.
Happy to answer like any questions, and you
Yep.
know. But I know there is a lot of people that are misdirecting, and you know, I would say to them like, be careful because
You're
people
playing with
you're
fire.
playing with people and they're grieving and they're you know
Yeah.
they're going through some shit and like
Oh yeah, you could point someone in the wrong direction.
yeah. So like I would say I would rather people think I'm absolutely insane than I'm trying to pull one over on them. How's that?
Uh,
I'm like
For sure. And actually, for anyone watching right now, just a piece of insight. If you go out, you can find a couple Medium pages, including our guests tonight, and compare them and look for the differences. Okay. Like with yours, you're not doing any of the traditionally trendy stuff. Like I said, you're putting out actual words of wisdom from your experience or based on what you know as you are. You're not like doing the cheesy, gimmicky, rope people in things, and that's what stood out to me. And I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a great conversation because I
thank
didn't know what kind of medium you were because there's many kinds.
there are no thank you really you have no idea how much that means to me because like I said and I put stuff like I you know go through my own processes like I'm human too and it's like and we're all human and I'm like I go through my own processes and sometimes I have to take a step back and I'm like why is this going on? Why am I feeling this? And then like I repeat the words of wisdom that I get. And so like if I can like help other people from like what details that I receive for
It's
myself too,
on.
I'm like I love it.
Yeah.
I would love to
No, that's so
and
true.
so
And like all the little common sayings throughout history, the passing of phrases, I think they call them, like fake it till you make it, or, like they're all rooted in a very deep truth that fundamentally, if you can find the message hidden within all of these turns of phrases, they're like keys. They
yes,
open
yeah.
doors.
Nailed it. I know it's so true though. It's so true. So it's like, it's up to us if anyone's like listening to this and they find themselves being curious, like that's great and like be curious and like
Stay curious, my friends.
stay curious.
Stay curious. Again, another guest and I were talking about this very topic, and we realized it's the curious versus the complacent. And complacency throughout history, it hasn't ended the best.
Yeah, yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I am like I worked corporate jobs before. Like I went to college and
Mhm.
I again when I really first felt like that mediumship coming on strong and I was like, I'm gonna not do that and I'm gonna like
Mm-hmm.
I'm like I should just focus on my career and like I do remember, working in the office and I liked my job and everything and the people were great and I believed in what we were doing, but like just feeling complacent, just feeling like stagnant. And I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just living to be on this rotating earth and I want to find myself. I want to
Yeah.
find myself. I want to do something more,
This is the trap of society. And like every guest I've talked to about this, everyone, all 15 of them, is like you get tricked into, comfort. And comfort is the killer of progression. Once you get
Yeah.
comfortable and you're like, I just want to stay comfortable forever, but then you slowly rot and decay because you're not fulfilling your spiritual needs. You're not living a
Yeah.
fulfilling life. And then you're like, why do I hate myself? Why am I getting fat? Why does my body hurt?
I
Like,
could not agree more. No, it's like the higher you climb up on the ladder, the more it sways, but the better the view. It's
mhm.
like, you know?
No risk, no reward. There's the turn of
Yeah.
phrase that this message is hidden in.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Are you familiar with Eckhart Tolle? Have you gone down
I
that rabbit
am.
hole?
I'm not very familiar, but I know of.
Mm.
How's that? Yeah.
I'll send you his podcast. Highly recommend just putting it on the background. You're a curious little critter, and I think you'll really. There's a lot of little pearls in there for sure.
I would love to.
Yeah,
Anything you could send my way. I love
yeah.
to. Always grow. That's really the key. Like no matter who you are, no matter what level you have reached, there's always room for growth. If you feel like, you know, stagnant, you know what I mean? Look into yourself and like
Hmm.
no matter what you've achieved, there's always room for more. And like
Hmm.
capping ourselves is just doing ourselves harm in
There
this
is
life.
no end.
Life is
There's no
short.
goal.
Yeah, exactly. There's no
There's
end.
no goal.
And which
There's a,
sometimes can get frustrating as
yeah. Oh
hell.
yeah.
Like, where's the finish
Wait.
line?
What do
I've
you
been
mean?
doing
There's
this
no
shit
end? No,
forever.
no. Wait. I did not consent to this.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, man, this has been going on forever. But like,
Fuck,
but
some
that's
people who
the
don't even like
beauty of
each other.
it, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
You know?
It's yeah, no. But what do you okay, so what do you think is the root difference there in the people who are genuinely curious? Because it's almost a personality trait, but do you think it's genetic, nature, nurture? What do you think it is?
Ooh, I would say it's definitely a sum of both. Like there are people who are just born curious, and that
Mm,
is what speaks to them. There are people who kind of are learners, by trade, by, their life experience that kind of trigger this sense of curiosity. And they might have, opened up to something, like they might have found something along their path that starts to really trigger this, like, wait a second, there's something else to be asked here.
mm-hmm,
And so, in that sense, that's an environment, right? But there are
mm.
people that are just born curious. I was definitely one of those people, you know what I
Yeah, me
mean?
too.
Yeah.
I was taking
So
apart the washing machine when I was like 8 years old, and my mom's like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "I want to figure out how it works."
I love it. I was always a kid who was like wandering off a little bit. Like we had this family friend who is actually now since passed, and my parents will say, if it was not for him, I would be somewhere like being raised by a family in Michigan or something. I would be like in Disney, you know what I mean? We'd be walking around, and I would just kind of wander off because I was just curious. I was just like, what else is going on? What else is out there? And I would just wander off, and he would always grab me, and he
Mhm.
would grab my shirt, and he was like always had eyes on me to pull me in. And like it's like I have been that way all my life, and I venture off. I'm still
So
doing
like
it.
yeah, this right here, that like following the butterfly kind of mentality, the little kid that just chases the butterfly and then they're like, I'm lost.
Yes,
um,
exactly,
it could be
exactly.
called ADHD. So on this, which is fine. Okay, this is what I want to ask is, what do you think about my philosophy on the topic of like some mental health disorders like OCD, ADHD are not disorders; they're actually like superpowers, and medicating them is counterproductive.
Oh my gosh. So yes, it's about coping with them sometimes, like to be like, what is this trying to speak to me? So I agree. And that brings me back to our previous conversation about asking those areas about yourself. Because
Mhm.
there's also some overlap too. If you are someone who's experienced trauma and you'd be like, I have ADHD and I also have trauma. There's like a Venn diagram overlap over like
Mhm.
being like, there's something to be said about the what you're achieving through this movement, that gravitational pull that
Mhm.
you have to like all these separate things. And if you're able to tame it as such where it's not pulling you so strong that you're losing your sense of self, and like
Mhm.
that's kind of like the key is like try to stay grounded but see what you can detect, because it really is like you're able to like multitask in ways, you're able to carry several
Mhm.
different things, several different interests, be well rounded, be able to connect with people in all different areas, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And even at the same time, it's like a total different
Yeah.
vibration. But you have to learn to tame it like anything good.
Yes. Slow down. you
Slow
know,
down.
Breathe. Take a deep breath. People don't underestimate the power of a breath. Like if you're feeling
Oh,
overwhelmed, depressed, anxious, anything, if something happens and you're like, oh, just take a deep breath, watch it melt the fuck away.
oh my God. No, literally it can seriously tap into an entire different part of you. It really
Mhm.
it is such a simple sound, but
Mhm.
it really just deeply connects. And at first, I have so many people that are like, I cannot meditate. I used to not really be able to meditate, but
Yeah.
meditating is like there's something to be said about just practicing the stillness, even just for the moment,
Right.
and you keep going back to it, and you keep going back to it, and it will
Hmm.
open up more and more. And breath
Hmm.
and meditation, as they go there
Oh
in
yeah, I
the
mean
same
hand in
breath.
hand.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, like you're saying, you can't just pick up three juggling balls having never juggled before and be like, oh, I can't juggle. Well, guess it's
Yes.
not for me.
Yeah. I've had people
No.
or friends, like, they're going through something, and then I'd say, where I'm like, if you breathe, and they're like, okay, that sounds wild, but I kind of forgot to breathe. And it just
No, square breathing too, if you're
spiritually,
familiar.
physiologically.
Yeah, that's the root philosophy behind Buddhism. Not just a meditation, it's a single breath and it's grounding. And what you're doing is taking your mind and focusing it on your body. You're bringing the two together, and they're normally
Yes.
completely divided. And so,
Yes.
through enough practice, that's how, Buddha sat beneath the cherry tree and reached enlightenment, was just by following his breath. And through studying Buddhism, I'm not a Buddhist. I'm a student of Buddhism and Christianity and Islam. But just that breath work, once you can really hone that in, first it takes you 8 breaths, and then it takes you 6 breaths, and then it takes you 4 and 2. And then all of a sudden it's just one breath, and you can wipe away anything that got triggered in your body.
It's so true. It is so powerful. And
Hmm.
I challenge anyone who would say otherwise, like, you haven't given it a real shot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It is the key. Like,
Yeah.
I'm right
It's
there with
the
you.
key. It's the key
It
to
is
everything.
the
It's the
key.
key to life. We figured it out. We cracked the code. Okay, we can retire now. Do we just get
I
money?
know.
Do they send it to my Venmo, or do they already know what it is? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Oh, no, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we're getting close to the end of our time. But again, man, I could talk to you forever. Like, this is one of those podcasts where I'm like, man, this should just be a 4-hour fucking podcast.
No, same with you. Literally, like, happy to do it anytime. Like, if like you ever
Yeah,
want to repeat guests, like, you're very easy to
totally.
talk to. Again, with the like-minded
Hmm.
people. So it's really been amazing. If there's anything else that I could do, or anything else you might want to know, please let me know.
Oh yeah, our interaction is not over. This is not a one and done thing. But
Love it.
to wrap it up, I just want to ask you some more fun, getting to know
Yeah,
you questions. Get your personality out a little bit.
sounds great.
Let's see. What is your biggest regret in life?
Ooh, it is the way that I kind of disconnected with myself in my younger years, and like the kind of methods that I did to kind of like cope. I would say those are my biggest regrets, because that is some of the atonement that I've had to make within myself in the recent times. And as we kind of touched upon, like, how you treat yourself even when you're young, like, it really travels through you on like a very deep level too. So those are my biggest regrets, but I try not to live in them, right?
Yes,
We work to release ourselves from them.
acknowledge them, but yeah, don't live in
Yeah.
them. So
Yes,
then, on the
exactly.
polar opposite end of the spectrum, what is your greatest achievement or accomplishment in life? What are you most proud of?
Man, I think that like I think that it would be kind of like how far I've come with, my connection with myself, and then in turn, like, my relationships with others, and how this like kind of achievement into something greater in myself has, enabled me to like show a better side of myself, and like
Hmm.
and have more patience, and like
Totally.
when I was like, especially like fresh after my sister's passing, like,
Mm.
I was a little tiger, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I would never,
Little
I
toxic
wouldn't like,
tiger.
I wouldn't start the confrontation, but I'm like, if you confronted with me, I'm
Bitch,
like,
don't come at me.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I can hold my own, but like, I'm like, I now, like, you could say or do, and I have had, had challenging people in my life,
Hmm.
and like, I can see some shit. And like, I'm like, I stay here. I am like, sometimes, you can feel yourself like boiling up a little bit, but like, what I can withstand now
Hmm.
is like, it impresses me still. So I'm
Isn't
like,
it
wow.
amazing? I did
Yeah.
the same thing. I was a hot-headed 25-year-old. Like, he's an idiot, piece of shit. I want to kick his ass.
Yeah.
And like, I'm a pacifist. But seeing that progress in yourself and like taking away the power of people's words is just so empowering.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that too, because it's funny being interviewed. Like, I'm like, I like to get to know people too. So I'm like,
I like
what
to
about
throw in
you?
tidbits about myself a little from time to time,
Yeah, what about you? I love it.
No,
It's a
my
two-way
episode's
street.
coming out later. Yeah, I got a story, but
Yeah.
people aren't ready for it. So,
I'm like, same. I'm like, we got stories. It's not.
yeah, they're not ready.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so let's think. Let's think. So, what are your thoughts on the constructs of like destiny and fate, as far as a predetermined life path?
Yeah. So yeah, honestly, we have fate, we have destiny. We do have like predetermined paths with ourself, with something greater. People, may say that spiritually as like God or something greater, and that exists. We have some choice. We have free will. We have the empowerment to kind of like they redirect ourselves in a separate light. But what it is, this traction is like we have chose a passive path of growth for ourselves, and how we might connect to it at a given moment could differ based on like, some of our choices and our action, but sincerely, it still directs us on the same path of our growth.
Oh, so you're touching on if you don't learn the lesson the universe is trying to teach you, it's gonna fucking keep teaching you and beating you into the ground until you fucking learn it, you dumbass.
In some ways, like you might still feel like, yeah, something's getting nailed tooth and comb. I'm like,
Yeah,
because you need to listen to it. Okay.
this is the only
And
way you're gonna listen. I
it
don't want to hit you.
will, yes, it's like it will bring you towards your greater goal. I'm like,
Okay.
it's like I had one point I felt like as many have felt, there's just a short period of time where I'm like, bad thing, bad thing, bad thing, bad thing. And I was like, okay, what's going on? So I'm like,
Everybody stop.
yeah, I'm like, what the hell? Do I have a magnet on me? And it's like you're projecting,
Mhm.
kind of like a chaotic aura, not even like doing anything chaotic, just maybe being like super unsettled.
Mhm.
You're gonna
Yeah.
attract more unsettled things. So instead of being like, stop looking about like what's happening to me, and it's like, what am I putting out there? You know what I mean? Even if it's subtle.
We're talking about accountability here, and this is retroflexion or reflection and introspection, which is the bane of everyone's existence because the more intellectual you are and able to reflect on your behavior, the harder life kind of is. But this is so important. And this is the difference between people who will live forever in a victim mentality, a mindset where everything's happening to them and they will never see their role in the play.
Yes, exactly. And you know what? I hope that for their sake and for their own truth and their own like goals that they've really set for themselves in their life is like if you're, someone that is set themselves on a path where you have a difficult mindset, you're likely like your true path is to kind of like overcome that. It's like we kind of like set ourselves up with like maybe some troublesome the way that we think or the way that we, you know, the way our brain works, the way our brain
Thought
chemistry is.
loops.
And it's like, yeah, yeah, exactly. And like those are the obstacles that are like presented to you, and
Mhm.
they're set to challenge you, to
Mhm.
oversee, to overcome, and get through them one way or another. So if you're being like, why the hell is this happening to me? Why does my brain work this way? Because the person that you're supposed to be on the other side, when you make it to the other side, and I hope you do, is going to feel so good. It's going to feel like so freeing that it's
Yeah.
going to be worth all of that shit, you know?
Well, what you just touched on though is like you got curious there, and that's not true for everyone. So they're going to get through it one way or another. Sometimes another is just they're not going to get through it, and then end of story.
The hope is that they do
The hope
learn
is,
from
yeah,
it.
no, yeah,
Hope
cool.
is that they do learn from
We're all
it.
supportive. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I'll bring this over to mediumship. It's like when I speak to people who have passed that were not the person that they want to be, like there's clarity, right? There's always clarity. They bring me clarity, and they're like, listen, like I made bad judgment, I treated people poorly in this sense, and I see it now. And had I reached out to, it's usually like, had I spoken out about maybe what was really going on and what these like constructs of my brain were like making me feel like, people have like different disorders, people have like things that we haven't even learned about in psychology
Yeah.
yet, like we don't even fully, you know what I mean, we haven't wrapped our
Hmm.
head around it, and like they're demonstrating behavior based off of these like processes, but they didn't speak out about it, and that is the number one message that I hear rung through from
Yeah.
like spiritually, like I didn't speak out about it and
Speak
I
it into
should have.
existence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring it to light. Bring it out of the shadows. Put it in broad daylight for everyone to point at. and laugh
Yeah.
at, you know?
And it is also like touching base with the community. So it's like if some
Mhm.
people feel like they have things going on and they don't know who to talk to, like that's where like there are like places of safety that you can go, because if they feel like they have no one in their personal life that they're able to
Mhm.
speak to like safely about it, like
Yeah.
there are things set up now to go get help and to like go speak about it.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
But some of those programs will also lure people in, not maliciously, but they'll be searching for community, but not necessarily align with the beliefs or values of what it is. And then they find
100.
themselves stuck in like this cognitive dissonance where they have two held beliefs that are conflicting, and that causes them even more pain.
Definitely, definitely. I'm also speaking like there's like communities like you can find like kind of like even like online like stuff, you know what I
Even
mean?
TikTok.
There's exactly like
Come join the
there's
Common Legend Lives, everybody. Like, we get real.
exactly, exactly. No, and it really is like so important. Like you find people that like that's their safe place. That's their safe place to be like, hey, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like this is what I'm feeling, and find other people that might be
Yep.
going through it too. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
like being able to like share that kind of common like ground and
Yeah.
redirect themselves based on what they,
it's it is magic. Like, once, so
yeah,
I used to be a support group leader for my old company, and before that I ran a daily mental health chat on TikTok live every day from the same time. And what
that's
I
awesome.
learned from doing that is I learned how to like whiplash people's brains and like make them like open up, like, like take their brain, throw it back and snap it by being like, and I call it share for share. So I
Yeah,
just dump my most traumatic shit openly, blatantly, mock it, and then be like, how's your day going? And then
yeah.
people are like, oh, guards are down, like, and they feel
That's
comfortable.
awesome though. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And that's the way to do it. And you know what? In a way, like that's what kind of comes out in the readings. And like I don't want
Hmm.
anyone to be like afraid that like they might hear something they're not ready to, because by the way, if it comes out to me to say to you in a reading, you're ready for it. It's like that, like, you know what I mean? Like, and but we open it up and we make you feel safe and we make you feel you understand that it's okay. You know what I
Well,
mean? And
that
like,
is your job as a healer to do.
yes,
You are
that's the
a
energy that I work.
shaman.
Yeah,
You're,
yeah.
yeah.
And the but it's like it's always, and then we turn it like into like a lightheartedness. Even like the darkest shit.
Hmm.
We have a
We have to be
moment
able to
together.
laugh at ourselves,
Yeah. And it
or
is
else we're
free.
gonna
It is
feel
freeing.
self insecure when other people laugh at us. But it's like, I don't, because I laugh at myself first. I already made the joke in
Yes.
my head before you even thought about it. Like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. You're like, oh my gosh. I mean, I'm like, if you read some of my notebooks, some of the shit that comes up, and then I'm like,
yeah.
oh no. Okay, cool
Oh my
guys, we're
god.
walking.
Yeah, not on a podcast. We should just have a diary reading back and forth and laugh at ourselves.
No, literally though, we can do this.
That'd be dope. Yeah.
This
All
is
right. Well,
content, people.
I hate to end it here, but we gotta. So I'm gonna hit you with the final question. And as an
Ah.
animal lover, it's not gonna be fun. So, would you kick a puppy, a cute, innocent puppy? I can grab one for an example because I have some chirping at me from the other room right now. A beautiful, cute little puppy, 2 pounds. Would you kick it as hard as you fucking could, knowing full well, dang, that puppy's gonna die? She killed a puppy to save 100 people's lives, 100
Oh my
strangers.
God.
Welcome to ethics, the
Oh,
inescapable
true.
ethics.
Oh my God. I would relay that to my higher self. Like,
Huh?
you need to choose. If in the moment it spoke that it was meant to do, it was meant to happen, I would allow that part to speak to me. But I couldn't sit here and tell you in this exact moment that I would know what I would do. How am I supposed to tell you I would know
Yes
what
or
I would
no?
do?
Yes or
You
no?
don't.
Right now. If it was right now, whatever's speaking to you right now. If it was right now.
Likely, yes, but I'm covering my eyes and then I'm gonna go do some trauma
Oh,
work. Because if
well, I'm
it was really meant
surprised.
to be for the greater good, but it's again, it's so situational. And like, you're talking, if you know anyone who knows me, like I love dogs. I did my whole
Well,
New Year's
not that
post.
much. Not
No,
that much. Obviously, if you're kicking puppies over here, Jesus Christ.
my whole New Year's
You
post was like, here's
monster.
all the dogs I met in 2024. I love dogs.
See, I told you weren't going to like this question. But,
Oh
as a
man.
healer, I am surprised. I was on team not kick the puppy, so I thought you were going to come over. But sorry, guys, we lost another one for team
I'm
don't kick
like,
the
if you're
puppy.
talking about the greater of humanity, it would probably, I mean,
What if it was 100 Hitlers and then you just saved them and they
God, if it
committed
was
10
100
times?
Hitlers, that's what I'm saying. You set me up. That's what I'm
Welcome to
saying.
ethics. There's no setup. There's only X's and Y's and contingencies,
Man, hard
Well,
question.
thank you so much again for coming on to the interview. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I'll link all your socials below, on your website if people want to go check out Kelsey and maybe get some of her services. Obviously, you could learn here. She's a stand-up gal, and I could safely recommend her. And I know there's some shitty ones out there. Even if you don't believe, you know, what do you got to lose? $50? Okay, whatever. How much more have you spent on McDonald's this month? Like,
Thank you so much. No, you know what? I really appreciate it. You're a wonderful person. You've,
well, thank you.
wonderful platform, and I had a lot of fun. Like I said,
Yeah.
anytime would love to connect again. Really.
Oh, we will. So normally right here in person, I'd whip out my Polaroid and ask you to pose and take a picture, get you to sign it, throw on the wall Legends back there. But since I've been doing remote, what I want you to do is just, when I say it, could you just pose for 3 seconds and hold it so I can get a screen grab, get you on the wall?
Oh
All
my
right.
God, I would love it. Yes. Okay.
3, 2, 1. Pose pretty. There we go. We're good.
Thank
Perfect.
you.